So we've just cut the hole in the van. So I'm just going to go and see Louise and see how she's getting on and what she's doing. You'll see previously from above her bathroom window, Louise cutting the hole and sorting all that stuff out. So Louise has cut the hole. There's the hole.
The hole in the roof.
We've just been up and taking some pictures now of the hole as well. And I don't really know what she's doing now.
I'm looking for mastic tape. Yeah, so basically I've cut the hole already. We filmed that earlier, so from the bathroom window. So the hole is in. What we're going to do in this video is I've already installed one, which is in down there.
And it hasn't leaked, so it's always a bonus.
Hasn't leaked. The reason we've done that and then we're going to do the video on this one is because there's so many different ways of doing it that I saw on YouTube, and they all look good, but you never know if they really work. So that one's been in for about three weeks maybe. We've had loads and loads of rain. We've driven it. It rained again last night, and so far it's held out, it's watertight, so I'm quite happy with how I'm doing it, so that I know that what I'm going to say in this one is going to be hopefully right. So yeah, we'll probably just go back to the footage now of measuring up and marking for the hole. Every van's different. If you're going to do it in either a Citroen Relay, Peugeot Boxer or Fiat Ducato, you're going to have a roof very similar to this. The biggest issue with these is in basically this has come out of there, is you've got these ribs in the roof, and obviously they're on the top as well. So the Skylight, it will come in three parts. So you've got this bit which is going to sit on the top, and obviously that's designed, you can see, to sit on a flat roof. Obviously once we put it on our ribbed roof, you're going to have gaps. So I was going to buy some UPVC plastic cladding, cut them to size with the angle and Sikaflex those in and then bond to that, but I've gone for, let's see if it's in here, mastic sealing strip, which is what I'm going to use to build up the gap. There's a difference of about 8mm from there to there, so that's the gap we've got to build out. So this worked really well for that one, so we're going to do it again for the front one. Before you even start, you're going to need to build up a frame for your window. So this is the one for here. Basically they come in two different versions depending on the thickness of your roof. We've gone for the thickest one, which I think is 43 to 60. Our roof, I'm going to make it so it is 60 or maybe 61. Because by the time I've got a batten on here, I've got the 8mm sitting up in there, and my cladding, I'm going to be near a damn it 60 anyway. So, but you will need to make up this frame. Now basically this frame will sit between this part on the outside, so that will slide down into it, and then this part comes on the inside and marries up to it, and that frame will sit this side of the roof in between the two to make up the distance. If your roof's going to be narrower, so maybe it's going to be like 50, you'll need to cut all these lugs back so that you can close it up to your 50, but because we're going around about 60, I can leave those there, which is quite handy. And then your third part is going to be the fascia that you'll put on right at the end, which has got your fly net and your blind.
That's the bit I'm most excited about.
It's the easy bit.
A fly net is just amazing.
So to make up your frame, depending on your roof, basically it's real easy. You're just going to want a hole in the middle, the same size as the cutout, because that inside edge on both parts will drop into the hole. So that will sit, it's the wrong way around, but it will sit up there to take that, and then you just screw through from underneath. There's no, you don't need to screw through the wood or through the van. The other one will sit in there. The 2 screw points will meet, and you just sandwich the whole thing together. So it's pretty simple, really. But yeah, so for my frame, the cutout is 400 by 400. I think that's about 399 by 399, so it's giving you a mil clearance already. With that one, I tried to make it super tight so that it was nice and flush, but I found that slightly bent it out of shape, so I've gone with 400 by 400. And what I've done is, because I've got that difference of 8mm, I've made up my frame with a difference of 8mm as well, because I've worked it out so that for ease of cutting and centrally, I'll have one or both sides will run on one of the raised ribs on the roof, so they're nice and easy to cut and then seal to. And then going across that way, obviously I can't avoid those, so that difference will sit up on there, so that edge, the taller edge, sits flush all the way along, and then that will meet that one, and that one. So yeah, that seems to work quite well, and it is literally just 4 bits of wood screwed together. You just want to make sure when you build it that you build it nice and square, because you don't want it slightly out of square, because it will pull the frame out of square and then you'll have trouble lining them up. Your hole might be square, but that's not square, so you just want to make sure that it's nice and square. And then it's quite handy, because when I went up to mark the cutout, I could use this as a guide, just to make sure that I was definitely right up there. So, but you'll see that when you see me measuring up for the hole. The easiest way to do it, where's that bit of roof? I just worked out where I wanted it on the inside, and if you look on there, there's a pilot hole that I just drilled from the inside, so making sure that I avoided that and that, but I wanted it as far forward as I could really get it. So I measured it all up, marked it up, drilled that pilot hole, and then from there I could go up on the top of the roof and use that as a point to mark up for my cutout. And once I'd marked out for my cutout, I checked, double checked, triple checked, had a cup of tea, checked some more before I cut it. Okay, tools for cutting it out. I've seen lots of different things online. There's you can use a nibbler, a grinder. I've gone for a jigsaw, just because it's what I'm most used to. If you've got one with a pendulum swing, which means your blade will move, I've took that off. I've got it right down on its slowest setting, and I've gone for a pretty fine metal blade, which aren't expensive, a couple of quid. I've used the same blade to do both holes. It's been fine. It's really a lot easier than what I thought, to be honest. And the cut that it gave, I hardly had to do any filing, so it was a nice smooth cut. The trick is really just to go nice and slow, take your time. It will, as you start to remove edges, the panel will want to jump, but you'll see in the video that from up top I've taped it to hold it together, and then Emily's come underneath and matched the tape up underneath just to stop it from jolting. Yeah, so that's it really. Yeah, then once it's cut, I've cleaned around all the edges on the outside, really cleaned them well. What did I use? I used some warm water and some panel wipe, just to take off any grease, or because obviously there's sort of like 3.5 years worth of crap up there. And then clean that off with warm water, just to make sure that I get the best possible bond that I can with that silicone and the sealing strip. It's worth taking your time to clean that, because any little bit of dust could cause a gap and then you're stuffed. So that's it really. Jigsaw, drill. I pre-drilled the corners of the cutout before I used the jigsaw. I used like a 9mm drill bit, which is just about big enough to get that blade to be able to get that blade through. Oh, it's in the drill. So yeah, that's it really. Yeah. Then once I've done that, filed it all back, which, like I say, because I had a really nice cut, it wasn't too bad. And then I've just gone around and sealed this with some anti-rust treatment, just in case any water does get in there. We don't want it going rusty. So the next step will be to get my sealing strip, Emily's chopping board, and a Stanley knife. It's pretty easy to work with. It just, when you stick it down, you want to make sure you stick it down in the right place, because it's a sod to get back off again. But I'm using a build up of 3 layers of that to bridge that gap, which it's just proud, which is perfect, because then once we screw it all together, it squashes it right back down. Yeah, so I'm going to go and do that.
Lovely.
Right, Emily's gone. What I meant to say about that frame was that I've set mine at 60, knowing that it's got to come back down to take some off. Obviously subject to the depth of my cladding. But because we haven't decided exactly which cladding we're going to use, I think it's going to be about 7.5, 8 mil, which is what we used on our last van, but I can take that frame back off and then just trim off whatever the cladding is, ready for the cladding to go in. So I'm not going to bond that frame to the roof. To be honest, I don't think you need to, but some people have. Okay, so this is the mastic strip. Pretty simple. Comes on a roll like that. And then you just stick it, cut it to size, stick it on and peel the back off. That's all I'm going to do. Mark the length. Cut it with a Stanley knife. Okay, so that's a bit too long. It's going to be easier if I come up and do it, I think. Put it in a reject bin. Try again. Yeah, so while that film's on top, I give it a good stick and then peel that off. Yeah, so like I say, 3 layers, so it takes a little bit of time. So it's probably going to be easier for me to do it from up here, so I'm just going to crack on with that in the wind. Right, so that's all those done. It is a bit time consuming, it's a bit tedious, but you want to take your time and make sure you've got it all nice, because hopefully we'll get it right once, we haven't got to do it again. But I doubt it. We'll see. Right, the next step is to go and get a second pair of hands, because it's tricky on your own. I have dry fitted it already just to make sure that everything fits with the frame and the base and everything coming together, so I know it all fits. So now it's just a case of sealing it up and dropping it in. Right, so we're gonna seal it and then drop it through the hole. I'm using Pureflex 40. Most people use Sikaflex 51. What's it for this? It's basically very similar, but cheaper. I'm using it. I've used it a lot at work, so I know it's good. I know it's going to hold out. I'm quite happy with that. So this is the external part of the roof light. In here, you'll see there's a groove. You want to fill that with your Pureflex. Don't use regular household silicone, it will not last outside on the roof. So what I've done for my nozzle is I've cut off quite a bit so that I can get a nice generous bead.
Louise is just going to go up on top of the van, and then I'll pass her the external part through the hole. I lied. I passed it through the side of the van.
Can you pull it through?
Yep. Yep. So the external part's on now, so she's just coming back down, and then we'll put the inside on.
So I'm going to go up top, just double check that's all pulled down flush. Right, so that's it in. It's really not that difficult, it's making sure you measure at least twice. But no, it's just common sense really, it's pretty simple, pretty straightforward. I'm glad I've put the ladder on the back, because I was up and down a lot, so you're going to need some way of getting up and down. But yeah, that's it really. If you want to see the ladder install, it's in our list of where all the videos are. I don't know what that's called.
Subscribe to our page on YouTube, and then you'll be able to see them.
Some really interesting stuff.
Well, hopefully there will be. So that's the skylight in, and Louise is just tidying up the van. Next we're going to be putting in the other windows around the van. I think we're going to have one over here just by our kitchen, and then as you can see we marked out on this door here the size of the window that we wanted and stuff, so that'll be next. What else after that, Louise?
Insulation and first fix electrics, which is electrics.
So subscribe to our page, Camper Vibes, and we'll put some more videos on.